Hello, everybody. My name's Rick McCutcheon. I'm a Dynamics 365 MVP, and I'm here today with Dynamics 365 MVP Steve Mordue. Steve, introduce yourself and tell the people what you do.
Sure, Rick. Yeah, here we are, fellow MVPs having a chat. Um, so, a former Salesforce partner for about 10 years, moved over to Dynamics around 2010. So, about 20 years in cloud CRM, second half with Dynamics. We focus today mostly on our IP around Power Apps on the Common Data Service. But we still, about half of our business is working with regular Dynamics 365 customers. We spent a short period of time years ago getting involved in a little Azure, a little bit Office 365, and decided that really wasn't our cup of tea. So we focus 100% on the business applications.
So let's talk about, your business applications that you sell as an ISV, because you sort of a unique flavor here of what you offer on AppSource. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing.
You know, a few years into our journey with Dynamics, back right when they launched in the cloud, uh, when we came over, we came over from Salesforce, we'd worked with larger customers. And in the Dynamics space, the larger customers seem to still be on premise and kind of the domain of the bigger partners. So we saw really the opportunity that was available to us to get some traction in Dynamics side was going to be the smaller businesses. But it was pretty obvious to me that the smaller businesses were going to struggle with an enterprise application. It's just too big for them to use. So in 2015, we built a solution that sat on top of the first party applications and sought to make them much simpler to use. Limiting features, hiding power, which obviously for a big customer they would never want to do, but for a small customer, this is power they were never going to use, didn't need, just confused things. We called it Rapid Start. And that has been a continuous project ever since we launched at WPC in 2015. I think I saw you there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kept us pretty busy. And over time, that thing has evolved as the platform has evolved. And probably the biggest change for us was when Microsoft finally released the platform license, right? The Common Data Service license without having to buy the first party applications. And we immediately refactored everything that we had built to be able to run on, it would still run on a bigger license, but to run on the smallest license Microsoft made available. Because again, a lot of what we were doing was hiding complexity and functionality. And here's a license that doesn't have a bunch of that functionality and complexity to begin with. Let's just put it there and the whole thing becomes easier.
And I like this positioning because we've had some sort of stops and starts with the SMB licensing in dynamic sales. As well, like I do a lot of work in the startup early stage company world, and I'm always dealing with everybody running Gmail or HubSpot or something that's free that's out there, and
Yeah.
we need a small CRM that's on the common data service. So when these companies start to grow up, where they're going to need workflow, where they're going to need field service, where they're going to need integration into their ERP system,
Already on the right platform.
they're already on the right platform, because we know, once you get going down a road, that data model sets itself, and to move it to a different platform is a lot of work.
Yeah, and Microsoft has continuously missed the target, I think, on SMB because we had Business Edition for a while, that effort, and when they were working on that, I was a little concerned that maybe the days of our Rapid Start were behind us, and we were gonna, that was gonna be. But I actually worked with that team very closely, and they really couldn't understand that SMB customer. That whole effort ultimately, as you know, was kind of abandoned. And then they more recently launched the Sales Professional, which again wasn't designed as an SMB CRM. It was the enterprise CRM with, let's just turn some things off. Let's just feature limit this thing and call it SMB. But you can't just take something complex, make it, turn off a few switches and say, there, now it's SMB. It's still complex. It was still too complex and they never really thought about building something for SMB starting with that SMB customer. They just thought, they don't want as much as enterprise. Let's just take some stuff away. So I've continuously looked at what they're doing and saying, well, it looks like, Rapid Start has served its purpose and it'll be going away. I don't see an end. They just don't seem to really understand that SMB customer. And as long as they don't, this thing just keeps on chugging along.
And I think from a Microsoft perspective, they have a lot of enterprise customers, and they have to keep growing the product to compete with Salesforce.com and NetSuite and other products. So as they keep growing the product, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think you're right. They need a place to put that small business where they can get started and still have our sort of integration abilities.
Yeah, if they don't get that small business, if that small business looks at sales professional, which is their only offer today, that coming directly from Microsoft for SMB, if they look at that solution and say, oh, that's too big, then they leave. They're going to go to another platform, maybe Salesforce. They're going to go, who knows where they're going to go. And as you say, they're going to build their business model. They're going to build everything. And it is so much harder to get them back once they've left. So, I mean, that's our goal, is to try and be a net under Sales Pro. If Sales Pro is still too complex, still more than you need, still more expensive than you want to spend, because there's a lot cheaper options out there for SMB CRM, then just drop down the net and we'll catch you with a solution that's about as cheap as cheaper, frankly, than a lot of the competition out there.
So how do they find RapidStart?
RapidStartCRM.com is a website. We're also up on AppSource.
Okay.
Yeah, we recently, back in September, made the decision to make our app completely free. We've got about 18,000 users of the app now, and we decided to make that free. There still is a Microsoft license cost involved, but we also designed this to where it would run, and this was intentional and actually required some more refactoring, where it would run on that $10 pass. So, that's when you think about a CRM system that is enterprise capable, can be grown into anything that any of these other ones can be grown into, sitting on a $10 license. I mean, HubSpot, anything other than free solutions, this is just a heck of a value.
And, I think it's free with a migration path to, more complex solutions.
Yeah, it's on common data service. It's using the exact same account and contact entity that the full Microsoft Dynamics applications are, but where they stop there at the common data service, and then in the enterprise sales, they have built, as part of that add-on to the common data service, if you will, they've built the leads, they've built the opportunities, they've built all those processes the way Microsoft sees them, and that's what you get when you install one of those first-party apps. Well, we built those processes. We have our prospects, we have our opportunities, we have our cases. So it's the same motion when you install our app. We just actually thought about the SMB customer when we built it. I made it very specific to the SMB customer. I mean, I can imagine the teams inside of Microsoft, when they're making the decision, looking at the checklist of enterprise and pro, of what should we include in the pro. And I know how they work. Well, they're definitely going to want AI. They're going to need all this, so suddenly you get to the point where everything's been checked. And all they did was, well, we'll give them AI, but we'll only give them like 50% horsepower, and they didn't want it at all, so, but you know how these product teams work, right? I mean, every guy who owns a feature, he wants to get that feature into anything he can. And I think they just over-bloated the pro again.
We know how to get RapidStart. I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about your other initiative for ISVs and helping new ISVs into the dynamic space. And
So, I've been an ISV now for, since 2015. We jumped in then with RapidStart, have been a continuous ISV since then, not just for the original RapidStart, but some other versions we've built since. And I was involved in the pilot before they launched AppSource, working with that team on what that was going to look like. And me, I'm pretty vocal inside, so I get involved in a lot of those motions fairly early on. And it's just been a frustration for me and other ISVs with the pace and the results of Microsoft's ISV motion and ISV Connect and everything else that they've put together. Again, they say they really depend on and need ISVs, but the actions seem to fall a little short frequently. We got new leadership. There's lots of questions as an ISV. And one of the things I was realizing, because I'm looking for these answers too, there wasn't really a spot for an ISV to get the answers. Even UG, The best there was a subcategory of a group somewhere where it wasn't a focus of anybody. So it seemed to me like there would be a worthwhile effort to create a forum, a community of nothing but ISVs that really want to understand how the hell does AppSource work? What's this ISV Connect program? What does this mean? A place to go get this information from your peers?
What licensing do I need?
Yeah, all those questions. So, no one's an expert, but clearly by ourselves, none of us were going to be experts. And hopefully, with a bunch of us together, we can, share that expertise. And it's a free site. It's called ISV Connect Ed,
I'll put
like
that in
ISV.
the show notes.
Yep. And you can go there as an I. Now we are restricting who can get in there. I don't want people in there trying to sell the ISV stuff. I don't want Microsoft people in there sniffing over the shoulders. I mean, I'll report back to Microsoft some information about, hey, here's some things I'm seeing here. Toby Bowers has asked me if I would do that. I said I'd be happy to. But I want it to be a place where we can all kind of speak freely and really get answers to some of these ISV issues. So we've got, I think there's about a little over 100 ISVs in there, which is not a huge group, but when you think about the Microsoft Business Applications ISV space, it's not a huge group either.
I think it's a great initiative for 2021, and I think people are getting into the space now and looking around, working with AppSource, working with Microsoft, and now they're going out with a lot of questions. So if you can give them a forum where I can get these questions asked and answered, or just where I can meet with my peers, I think it's absolutely the right thing to do.
Well, and answer questions that you know an answer to. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I don't know, and there's a bunch of stuff I do. My goal is to share what I know and learn what I don't from the other people that are sharing what they know, and hopefully we can just raise the whole level of intelligence of all of us ISVs and knowledge about what we're doing, and be more of a collective voice. Because I can bang on the Microsoft door, and I mean I'm pretty loud, as you know, but still, if I've got a bunch of people behind me all having the same issue, it makes that knock a lot louder.
Okay. All right, Steve. That's the end of our conversation for today. We're out of time, but it's always fantastic to talk to you. And we'll be checking back in with Steve Mordue and all the things that you do as an ISV and an MVP. So thanks for your time and have a great week.
I appreciate it.